Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Boisterous coming to you with some Heart of the Swarm Platinum League Pandemonium. Spawning down here in the bottom right-hand corner, we do have Geo as the Red Zerg, and up here in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent HoFx Previous. I don't know what clan that is, and I did not have the time to actually look it up. Well, actually, I won't lie to you people. I had plenty of time. I just did not have the perseverance or the will, so I just made the game anyway, because fuck it, we'll do it live. Alright, so anyway, I'm hoping that my voice is not too high over the StarCraft 2 sound, or that the StarCraft 2 sound is not too high over my voice, but that might be an issue just because of the fact that I honestly, my game sounds got completely messed up when I went on Skype yesterday, and I haven't had time to check them like 40 million times, and I don't know, my recording software broke, so now I have to record my voice and the game in fraps, so I can't actually boost them individually, so something's probably going to be off against this game. But you know, if you go ahead and watch the biological commentary, documentary style commentary that being Panera put up yesterday on his channel, you will get a nice story about how I'm terrible and I work at it very, very diligently. And honestly, having my game sounds off is just one of the many ways that I try to be terrible. And also, you guys should definitely check that out. And also, watch this week on twitch.tv/InControlTV as me, Panera, Doncroft, I forgot the fourth guy's name at In Control, discuss the lore of StarCraft on the Overmind. An absolutely great character. It is going to be at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 9 p.m. EST, 8 p.m. East Western Seaboard times, California time, CST. I don't know what that I don't know what that time zone's called. Don't I feel Pacific, that's what that time zone is called. Alright, well, I'm rambling just a little bit here, but that's because really nothing's happening right now. We do have a Forge first from HoFx Previous, but that's reasonably common nowadays. You see a lot of players, especially Protoss players, going for extremely fast expands in Heart of the Swarm, just because SkyToss is so fucking good that if you literally just don't build any other units and then you go right for SkyToss, you win the game because you're playing Protoss. And SkyToss is insane. Have you ever seen the Oracle? Those bitches don't give a shit. But it looks like Geo is being the very, very unique little probe that he is, and we are going to see a bit of a cannon rush going down here. This cannon rush is not going to be effective at all, as this probe is going to get pinned. It is going to be able to escape by sneaking on through a mineral patch. However, the pylon is up. A cannon has not gone down fast enough, and I doubt that this amount of harassment is actually going to do much. It looks like we do have the photon cannon going down right up here. There is no second pylon at this point. I'm surprised to not see a pylon being dropped like here. And it looks like this pylon might be sniped even before the photon cannon really finishes. This pylon's taking a lot of damage very fast, and if a fourth drone heads over there, it's very possible that it could go down. It looks like the drones are very focused on sniping off the probe, and that is not going amazingly according to plan. The probe is now down to 3 health, but it is going to be able to get out of there. Oh, the turn! Oh, run, probe! Okay, it did manage to start building the other pylon. However, it's not going to be able to do an effective amount of damage here, as the pylon is going to get sniped by 5 drones, because 5 drones actually deal more DPS than the pylon constructs in health per second. So this attack is going to be essentially worthless. I think I killed off 1 worker. So we went 1 worker for 1 worker for 350 wasted resources. Alright, 1 worker for 3 workers. Alright, yeah, 1 worker for 3 workers for 350 wasted resources. Not exactly cost efficient, because it didn't do anything to disable the hatchery for any amount of time, really. It didn't cancel the hatchery. It didn't really do a whole lot of actual tangible damage. We do have Geo going for a Nexus of his own. In fact, he already has it out, so he did do a reasonable macro play behind that. He also has 2 gateways on the way, which is a little bit interesting. You usually see people only go for 1 gateway, because again, you win with SkyToss, and let's be honest, who doesn't want to win? I mean, don't even get me started on the Oracle. I forget. I think it was the White Raw versus Red series where Oracles like killed a base worth of drones in 15 seconds. And I know I've linked to that video in the past, and I have no idea where I would find it. So go find the video where I talk about that video. It would have been like the first or second Heart of the Swarm cast, and check that one out. It's actually a really cool series. It was from Red Bull, I do believe, the Red Bull LAN, where they had a best of 5 Heart of the Swarm, a big game that they played, and it was all fancy, and it was like for $500, and then White Raw literally just took Rhett and beat his head like a watermelon until it exploded. It was quite brutal. It was almost like a snuff film. It was was actually pretty nasty. I felt bad for Red after that. Anyway, we do have a couple of Zealots popping out for HOG previous. He does not have... Okay, he does have tech coming up. I do not believe how I missed that cybernetic score, but you know, whatever. It's all good. It's all good. I'm not sure. I don't think I have any other announcements. I am going to be helping out with the Forum League revamped. Shadow Brood has restarted the Forum League. I would just like to everybody thank him for that, because I did one of those back with Protostitute, and that was really fun. It was really cool, and I'll probably be live streaming some of the matches, probably not all of them. I'll do a couple of VOD commentaries. I'll probably pull Kadoink in on that, so you guys will get to see us commentate again in my chocolatey smooth voice and his kind of peanut brittley voice, and it'll go perfectly well together. And yeah, it's going to be glorious, and you should all tune in, and I will get the dates to you guys as soon as possible, and I will surely pimp it out every time I have the chance. It looks like we do now have the Stargate going down, so of course Boisterous is right yet again, you know, because I don't watch these games in advance, but I could, and you know, guys, I'm right all the time, so just think about that. Just think about it. Alright, well anyway, the Stargate is going to be finishing up. There is probably going to be an Oracle coming up soon, because Oracles are literally the most hilarious unit in the game at this point. However, he does not actually have the economy to build anything. There is a Phoenix coming up, interestingly enough. It looks like we have a 4 Zealot attack down on this third base, and that's going to be doing a lot of damage to Geo's expansion. I'm not sure if he actually has the units to really fight this off, because these are 4 Zealots, and 4 Zealots do quite a fuck ton of damage. It looks like these drones are going to get attacked a little bit, and honestly, this hatchery might just get snapped. Might just get sniped if he only targets the hatchery. That's all he needs to do, is just target the hatchery with these Zealots, and he's going to snipe it. And it looks like this hatchery is going to go down there. It's a momentary lag spike, but it's going to be perfectly fine. Snipe the hatchery. Snipe the hatchery. Don't try to stutter step him. All right, there is the snipe on the hatchery. Perfectly worth the lives of all of these Zealots. He did manage to kill off 2 workers and the sniped hatchery. So of course, that is going to even out the amount of economy that was lost for both players. Actually, no, it's not even going to closely even out the economy loss for Geo, as that was basically a really nice snipe, and it only cost 4 Zealots, which is very important. It's very important to keep your losses low as a Protoss player, especially in the early game. It looks like we are going to have 3 Phoenixes coming out, which is a little bit more Phoenix action than I'm usually used to. We do have Stargate up along, or Warp Gate up along with 6 gateways that are prepared to turn into them, so we are going to see 6 Warp Gates finishing up. It looks like he's going for just a solid Phoenix composition, which is quite interesting, especially because of how effective Oracles are, unless they reduce the amount of damage they do to lightly armored units, because they're ridiculous versus everything in the Zerg arsenal. There's almost nothing that can actually really snipe off Oracles. The Spore Crawlers are good against them, and Queens, and that's kind of it. There are, you know, Corruptors in the late game, but Corruptors are pretty easy to kill on their own. It looks like these Phoenixes are going to be moving out across the map. We do have 4 Hydralisks on the way for Geo, so Hydrotech is already done, which is going to play quite a key role, because Hydralisks kind of make Phoenixes useless, because Hydralisks do a lot of Phoenixes, or do a lot of damage to Phoenixes, and there are quite a few of them. It looks like we are going to have reasonable snipes going down on the occasional Overlord that is floating too far away from the base, and I know I've probably speeched on this enough, but Death Animation and Heart of the Swarm are the craziest, awesomest thing in the world, and I'm probably going to harp on it a lot more, because I do believe that they're so sweet. Oh my god, unit death animations. I really should have gotten a cup of water before I started this, because I'm starting to get a little bit lightheaded from all this talking. However, I'm gonna keep going with it. You know, it's all good. I just ran around for like 2 hours, and now I'm kind of tired, kind of lightheaded, kind of dehydrated, but I can wait it out. I'm all good. I am a manly man that plays video games all the time, is trying to make a life out of commentating them, but a man nonetheless. It looks like we do have the Phoenixes taking out a reasonable amount of the Hydralisks, and honestly, I think trading Phoenixes for Hydralisks is actually kind of cost efficient. How much is a Phoenix? How much is it? 150, 100? How much is a Hydralisk? How much is a Hydralisk? 150. Okay, so it's not really cost efficient, but you know, it's not awful. It's not the worst you could do. And he did manage to snipe off 3 Hydralisks for 2 Phoenixes, which is actually cost efficient, I think. Or maybe I'm awful at math, which seems to be the answer to that question, because I am awful at math, and I am wrong, but I'm just going to say I'm right, because, you know, let's be honest. Who's going to question me? You people, please, I have the microphone. And everybody knows the man with the microphone is the man with the power. I'm blowing out that microphone a little bit, so maybe I should stop abusing the microphone so much. But again, man with microphone, man with power, get used to it. All right, anyway, we do have HoFx previous going for quite a sentry force at this point. He really does not want to lose either of these bases. Now, of course, sentries are actually what I would call pretty shitty at defending on Antigua Shipyard, because unless you have an equal amount of sentries here and here, you almost always end up with your base trapped up the high ramp, which is something that a lot of Protoss players do when they actually go on the aggressive, is they'll run up and, you know, they will hopefully have an observer out to know which army is at what base, and they'll say, okay, that's the stronger army at the main base. So I'm just going to wall this off and then I'll be perfectly fine. It looks like the Phoenixes are going for a little bit more damage, but it is not at all worth it, because that's quite a few Hydralisks there. They are going to be swinging through the mineral line a little bit. A couple of them do almost get sniped, but they do manage to get out quite alive. Ooh, okay, that does go down. That's a little bit sketchy. You really didn't want to lose that guy for absolutely no reason, which was essentially what that was. We do have 13 Hydralisks on the way. Oh my god, Geo is going for a full Hydralisk composition. That is very interesting, especially because Hydralisks have been massively proclaimed as shitty. However, since HOF previous is not actually going for any Oracles or any Colossus or anything that does an insane amount of damage versus those Hydralisks, this composition could work, which sounds ridiculous to a lot of you that know how StarCraft 2 usually plays out, where somebody goes for Hydralisks and then they lose. But honestly, with the Heart of the Swarm movement speed buffs, they're not as awful units as they were, especially if you're facing off against an army of, you know, Stalkers and Immortals, which usually are very good against that Roach composition, or even against Stalkers just because they're so slow, or even against Hydras just because they're so slow. But when Hydras are fast and they don't take a lot of damage from these bonus to armored units, it gets kind of gory, it gets kind of nasty. It looks like the robotics buffet is going to finish up at the back of the base here, but I'm not quite sure if it's going to be great. It looks like we do have charge on the way, which is an interesting upgrade to get, especially when you have such a heavy sentry force. Because usually when you have a heavy sentry force, you're trying to limit the amount of damage that melee units do to you. And melee unit and that kind of reduction works on both sides of the coin. If you're dropping walls and you kind of like wall your army in, it's hard for your zealots to get out. If you drop walls and you wall their army in half, it's kind of hard for your zealots to hit that other half of the army, whereas the entire other half of their army can hit your zealots, and then, you know, you're kind of stuck with all your zealots dying. And again, I don't think charge is actually as good of an upgrade as blink, but we are going to see previous, see how it works. Yeah, we have Geo actually building up to a reasonably threatening army. He does have better upgrades than his opponent, I do believe. Please be right. Please be right. I am right. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. Boisterous is right. Oh my god, this is like the first time this has happened in a whole 10 minutes. I am so excited. The Oracle is now finally out. Ugh, this is late as hell. This is really late, because Pulsar Beams, as you can see, is 25 damage versus light on 0.86 weapon speed. That's insane! That's insane! It's insane. That averages a drone a second. That is what that is for Oracle. It is a drone a fucking second. And I am getting buzzed on my phone, but I am just going to ignore, and, you know, whatever, it'll be perfectly fine. And I'm not going to pay attention to it. I'm going to mention it in the commentary, but that's because I'm bad, and I work I work a lot at being terrible, but I'm not going to mention it outright. It looks like we do have a Colossus now coming out for HOFX previous, and the main army for Geo is still an interesting composition. We do see a switch to Broodlords possibly happening soon, and here we have the 1v1 between the Queen and the Oracle. The Queen, of course, winning that fight because the Queen is not a lightly armored unit, and let's be honest, if you're lightly armored, you die to the Oracle. If you're not, you win. Which is why you always should go the Oracle versus Hydralisks, because you know what Hydralisks are? They're light. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that symbol. It's light. And I'm pretty sure Queens actually count as armored. Yeah. Oh no, Queens are biological. The fuck? Wait, what? Are Queens psionic armor type? Okay, I don't understand what Queens are. So we do have some nice force fields going down on the main field for HOFX previous, but as I mentioned, he does have a reasonable amount of zealots that just aren't doing the damage they can. There is a nice split on this army happening right now, where Geo is just getting absolutely rolled by this army. With a resupply of 22 roaches on the way, we are just going to see an absolute overrun of the Protoss army. That is a lot of zealots warping in, but I'm not sure how effective it's going to be yet again because of these force fields. These force fields are awful. Never drop force fields like this if you're trying to zealot in, because zealots are meat shields for your army. Zealots are supposed to get right up in the middle of the fight and just try to melee and do as much damage as they can. They can't do that if you're walling them in. it looks like we are going to have a nice engagement going down. We do, in fact, even have corruptions on the Immortals, which is something fancy that a lot of players don't do, and it looks like the massive amounts of gateways is going to be able to keep our Protoss player alive for just a little bit longer. How many gateways does he freaking have? Ugh. Alright, 6. Oh, okay. He has a lot of gateways. He is up to, that's 16, so 13 gateways, which is quite a few. However, I'm not quite sure if his production can even compete with that of the Zergs. We do have 3 Broodlords on the way, and oh my god, that is a lot of Stalkers. But do the Stalkers have Blink? Oh, they do. So maybe these Stalkers will be able to do reasonable damage to the Broodlords. There we do have 1 Broodlord falling, 2 Broodlords falling. I could even see that 3rd one going down. No, okay. It looks like the Stalkers are just going to blink away. The Immortals trying to fight a 1v1 against a lot of Roaches, and that was not at all worth it. We do have 8 Hydralisks on the way, along with 4 more Corruptors. So we are going to see a bit more production going into those Broodlords, and we see Geo taking over the bank floor, and this is pretty well done. And I am still getting texted by somebody, but again, ignoring it. I'm going to put it on a sock so that I can't even hear the vibrations. There's a sock by my desk, and let's be honest, that's cool. Okay, I got a little bit zoned out near the end of that battle, but honestly, it looks like Previous kind of just started to take out the Zerg player, which happens when you're going for Roach Hydra. Without Fungals, without any sort of those big money units like Broodlords, you just get smashed, because you really need those Broodlords, and the army is just there to buffer for them. That's all the army is there for. You don't need it for anything else. So it looks like Previous is going to be doing his best to move out across the map right now, and this is going to look, this is starting to look a little bit ugly for Geo. If you look at the income, we have our players and around even grounds. The Protoss player actually has like 20 more Harvesters than the Zerg, which is something that you don't see a whole lot unless they go for this sort of super aggressive build where they're just building so many Hydralisks, and Hydralisks are not the best decision versus this army. I guess they're not awful now that all the Colossi are dead, but as soon as Colossi start coming out again, you know, they're going to start being awful. It looks like the Tempest is coming out, and this is a this is a weird decision, because there are Broodlords on the way, but there's not a whole lot of them, and I'm pretty sure this is air-to-air, right? Yep, okay. So this is air-to-air, this is air-to-ground. So actually, they do a lot of massive damage versus Broodlords. These are like the anti-Broodlord, anti-battlecruiser unit, and they have an awesome unit portrait. But I'm still not quite sure if it's worth it at all, because you know, there's not a whole ton of Broodlords here. I mean, I guess there's a couple, but if you spend all your money on Tempests, then you're just going to be facing Hydralisks doing 10 DPS a second, which is just about the amount of a Marine. I do believe it's somewhere around there. I think a stimmed Marine is actually slightly higher than that, whereas these Hydralisks are going to be doing up to 20 DPS a second approximately, a little bit less than that actually, kind of like 18, 19, somewhere around there. And we are going to see Geo, you know, with just a higher DPS output. There we do have a little bit of a Broodlord flying in, just being annoying, dropping a couple of Broodlings on this Stalker, sieging down the Stalker, not actually doing any sort of hull damage, but you know, it was annoying. It was annoying. It was very cute. It looks like we are currently up to 3 Broodlords, which is not a lot of Broodlords. A beautiful snipe with the Zealots going down yet again. I am awful at watching the minimap, but I'll get the hang of it at some point. But you know, that was still a lot of Zealots for just sniping off a 3rd. That was it was mostly mined out already. Now, of course, since the Zerg is not able to actually get another base, that is a lot of economic damage. And here comes a primary engagement right now. This is an awful spot for this army to be in there, or trying to fight up the high ground. All of the Zealots are behind all of the Stalkers. The Stalkers blink in. They are not able to do the amount of damage to the Broodlords. 2 Broodlords are still standing. A lot of those Hydralisks are going to be pushing through now. There are not the Colossus to fight these Hydralisks, and these Hydralisks are just going to do an absurd amount of damage to everything on this side of the field. Oh my god, they are wrecking everything. These Immortals just can't stand up. This one has 33 kills. That's a lot of kills. The other one has 3 kills. That's not a lot of kills. It looks like we do have a second Tempest on the way for Previous, but it's just not at all going to be worth it. It looks like the run-by of Zerglings is moving up to the 4th base. It is going to be doing an exceptional amount of damage, killing off all of the probes that were up there, killing off a couple of Zealots that come to warp in, and, you know, this is starting to go a lot into the Zerg player's favor just because of the cancellation in the production of those Colossi. We do have High Templars on the way, but they aren't waiting for storms. He really needs the AoE damage. He really needs the AoE damage. This is a lot of Hydralisks, and Hydralisks don't have a lot of health. If you hit them with a full storm, I'm pretty sure they die. Actually, I think my number's a little bit off there. I think they take most of their health. Do they? No, I think Storm's 100 damage over. I'm gonna look on one of these Templar. Damn it, those Templar morphed before I got to him. Alright, whatever. I'll get those numbers at some point. It's all good. I'm sure Dawncraft will correct me in the bottom. But I'm pretty sure if you hit a Hydralisk, it does a lot of damage with Storm. That's baseline what I'm trying to say here. We do have Adrenal Gland on the way for Geo, so we are seeing him go for those kind of low gas units, which are very important to the Zerg army. He's making his Zerglings extremely efficient, and it looks like a nice surround is going to be coming around with a wraparound from the Hydralisks. And again, this is why you need that AoE damage, because those Hydralisks were so clumped. It's so hard to run them out of any bad situation, and if you storm them, they die. That's what happens. It looks like we are going to have, can I look at it in time? Oh, it's 80 damage. 80 damage to all units in the section, just enough to kill off a Hydralisk. Who's right yet again? Man, I feel like a monstrous boss. Whew, I've been talking a lot this game, which probably explains why I'm a little bit lightheaded and a little bit in need of water, but that is all good. I feel like this has been a very upbeat cast for me, and I'm kind of proud of myself. This is good. This is good. I like this kind of energy, because I just watched the documentary cast a little while ago before I sent it on to Panera, and it was a little bit low energy for me, and I didn't quite feel good about it. It was funny as fuck. It was great. We had some great exchanges in there, but it was low energy. It was very calming. It was kind of like the one you watch right before bed with a cup of tea in your hand, maybe even in bed. You know, let us lull you to sleep. Let us lull you to sleep with our dulcet tones and our yelling of battles. It'll be beautiful. Anyway, we do have the Protoss army still in an awful position right now versus the Zerg army, because this is just it's a lot of DPS. And if we look at pure army supplies, there we go. We do have 94 to 43, which is kind of the story of how this game's gonna end. I'm gonna say it right now. Calling it for the Zerg player. Calling it for the Zerg player. He's won this game. He is preventing the fourth from going down for the Protoss player. The fourth base is a big factor for that Protoss player, and he's running out of money there. And he did not build the cost-efficient units that he needs to really overrun this Zerg swarm. The Zerg is in a beautiful position on gas. He's not in such a beautiful position on minerals, but he will be able to take this base fairly soon because he has absolute control of the middle of the map. It looks like we do have a little bit of a snipe going down here. The Tempest is going to go down. That is the final Tempest. Now these Broodlords are going to be able to do a massive amount of damage. It looks like a lot of probes are going to be fed to the meat grinder. And oh my god, let's just watch the kill count on the workers go up. That is a lot of workers dying. It looks like they try to fight, but they're just not valiant enough to take out those Broodlings. And there the Archons are doing their best, but they just can't get into range of those Zerglings. And the Colossus is there, but it's about to get sniped by the Broodlords. It's about to get sniped by the Clockers. It's about to get sniped by everything in HoF previous. Definitely right way. You went for a horrible army composition. Horrible. You build Colossus versus Hydralisk. You build Storm versus Hydralisk. You don't build Archons and Stalkers. Those are both units that are like hard countered by Hydralisks, because Hydralisks have more range, they have more damage, they have more, they don't take the extra damage from armor penetration. It's very, very important to go for those Colossi versus Hydralisks. So anyway, guys, if you want to watch any of my other games, you can head over to youtube.com/user/boisteroussc2. Also, if you would like your games commentated, you can send them on into boisteroussc2@gmail.com. Be sure to send your games in. Be sure to comment, subscribe, like, do all that junk. I don't have a Twitter or Facebook or any of that stuff, but if I did, I would spam it out right now and it would be in the description. But I don't, so I don't know why I just mentioned that. So anyway, guys, this is Boisterous, signing out.